Hello, Chill Computer Guy here in Bitwig Studio 2.4. We're going to start doing some 2.4 tutorials. I wanted to start off with the sampler. Now, the sampler is probably the biggest change here to the 2.4 upgrade. This new sampler is unbelievable. The way it's laid out, the way it's designed, and especially when you start to add the multi-sample part of it, it's pretty unbelievable. It's a huge upgrade over the last sampler. And like I said, it's a point upgrade. It's 0.4. So the 0.3 sampler and the 0.4 sampler, two totally different beasts. This one is just got every single thing I think you could possibly ever want in a sampler. I really am happy with this device here. What I'm mainly going to do is I'm going to talk about the differences from the 2.3 sampler. Mainly it's the layout. Everything is very clear in this sampler, especially when it comes to the window here. Now, I had a video previously about the zooming of the sample, whereas you see this magnifying glass. Now, if you push up, you zoom in, and it stays locked, okay? I had a video on the 2.3 sampler where when you zoomed in, that center point would just, it would just somehow shimmy away as you zoomed in, and so it was really hard to find the exact spot. Let's say I want the very beginning of this transient. I can put my magnifying glass there and get very close. Not only that, but while I'm holding down on the mouse button, I can drag right and left. Not only that, but I can use these arrows here if I want to scroll very slowly. And so it's very nice to be able to zoom in very quickly. Another huge feature that's been added is the snap to 0 point, which is right here, this icon here. And it's pretty hard to tell what's going on with that when you're zoomed out, but when you're zoomed in, you can really tell what's going on here. Let's go ahead and zoom in on the end point of this sample here. And when it says 0 point, it means a point in the sample where it's at 0 dB. And what that'll do is it'll snap to those. So let's go ahead and turn this off. And so you can just kind of put the end point or the loop point or the beginning point, whatever your flag is, you know. But so you can drag them to right here. There's a bunch of dB right here. And so if you make this the end of your sample or the beginning of your sample, you're going to get this kind of popping sound, you know. And so what you generally want to do is you generally want to, make sure and have that where there's 0 dB. But the thing is, if you turn this on, this is snap to 0 dB, the marker will snap. See that? It's snapping to where the sample is 0 dB. And so that's a really handy and powerful thing that they've added to this 2.4 sampler. And so that's huge. Everything else is pretty much laid out a lot better, mainly is the thing. Let's go to the sample window really quick, and we'll talk about the sample window. First off, you have the folder. If I click here, it's going to open up the browser right to the samples folder, which is really handy. Right here's your key tracking. You can turn that off or on. Or you can go in between, which is kind of handy. So if you want to go 50% here, now 1 octave of your MIDI keyboard represents 2 octaves of the sample. So that's kind of nice. So that's kind of cool. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. And then your root key, of course, C3, which is middle C. That's going to be where the root is of your sample. You can make fine tunes up to 100 or minus 100 cents. So fine tune your sample just right. You have a gain control, plus 12 to minus 12 dB. And what's nice is you can visually see the gain in the display below. And now if we go to the bottom of the display, here's where your flags come in. There's a couple of different ways to manipulate. You can either drag, your starting flag to wherever you want it and your ending flag to wherever you want that. Or you can actually go down here and scrub this value right here, and that's actually the way I actually prefer. I like to scrub the value. Not only that, but you can double click and you can type the exact value, 200 milliseconds, bam, right there, 200 milliseconds. Very handy. To the left of that is play. We're going to play forward, of course. You can click on this R, and then that's your reverse. Normally it was a tiny little arrow up here, but now you're kind of very clear. Everything's very clearly laid out is what I like about this new sampler. So now you're in reverse. Let's go ahead and turn that off. And then if you skip ahead to the right, you have your loop. All your loop stuff is going to be in this green color. Of course, you have your no loop, your forward or your forward reverse. If you turn that on, you're going to get your green section. This represents where the loop is. Again, the flags are going to be at the bottom here. You can either drag them or you can scroll up and down on the value here. Not only that, but you have a nice little crossfade here. This is the crossfade here, and you'll see kind of that a little opacity blend there between that. Not only that, but you can drag right here. If you drag this middle one, you get your fade right there. So like I say, there's two ways to do things. You can either scrub up and down right here, or you can just grab it right here in the display and do it that way. And again, the crossfade is this little one here. So very, very quickly, you can get exactly what you need with your sample. Get it exactly where you want it type of thing. And that's pretty much the single sample right there. Those are all the new features added there. To the left of that, we have the select potentiometer. This isn't going to do anything unless you're in multi-sample mode. We have the pitch, which is plus or minus 36 semitones, which is 3 octaves. You have the glide all the way up to a full 1 second glide. We're going to skip this section right here and go to, we have our normal filter. You know, we have our frequency, our cutoff, and then we have, you know, our low pass, high pass, notch filter, peak filter, whatever. We have 24 dB, you know, all the normal filter stuff. And then we have, of course, the key tracking for the filter. None of that's really changed. To the left of that, we have our ADSR. We got a hold value in there. And then we can, of course, adjust our shape of our attack, our decay, and our release. And, of course, we can also use this as a modulation source anywhere else in the sampler. To the right of that, we have our note effects slot and our effects slot, all pretty much standard. We have our pan right and left. We have our key tracking, our velocity. When we hit our keys, they're going to be super sensitive to pressure. They're going to be not sensitive at all. So normally, the softest touch possible, 0 to 127. You can go clear up to 60 dB of latitude between those two. So you make the keyboard super sensitive, or if you turn it down, then every key is going to have the same pressure. You have a little bit of a gain control here. If you have a real quiet sample, you can kind of fix that with your gain control and then your master output. So nothing really new there. Pretty much the same as the 2.3, but where the new stuff comes in is in the stretching. We're gonna have a speed control, so you can actually slow your sample down. Dangerous criminal. 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 So this potentiometer is kind of weird because the default is 100%, which is the normal, speed of the sample. But from this 100%, which is like, I don't know, what is that, 2 o'clock? About 1:30? If you back this off to midnight, that's going to be 0. So from the default to straight up is going to slow it down. Or if you go straight up or 0%, then that's not going to move at all, okay? And then anything into the negative is going to be reverse. That means your sample is going to actually play in reverse. Now, something that's very curious about this speed control, which I don't know, they might want to look at this in the future, is obviously you're not going to be able to go backwards unless you're looped. In this case, we're looped, but we cannot actually start this sample in reverse. We have to actually go into the positive and then back it down. But if we let off the key and then hit the key again, it's not letting us go backwards. Now, I figure if you turn the, if you put the sample in reverse maybe, but that doesn't do anything either. So that's problem is when you hit the key, the sample will not start if you're into negative values. But if you pull it into positive values, hit a key. Dangerous criminal. Then it will actually play, but you cannot start the patch in negative values. It just won't play. you'll get a clicking sound. So that is something that might have gotten overlooked with this new sampler. I mean, basically, if you hit a key in the plus, it'll play. If you hit the key in the negative, it will not play whatsoever. But of course, if you're in the positive, hit a key, keep it held down in loop, and then pull it back. That's the only way to get it to play in reverse. Either that or just click the reverse here. You can also do that. So if you really have to play something slowly in reverse, that's kind of a workaround, is just click the reverse button and then back that down somewhere between to like 42% or something. Now, another really powerful thing that they've added in the 2.4 update is there's tooltips down here. Not only that, but every single potentiometer you hover over, it's telling you this is 42%. So you can see the value right down there. Glide is 0 milliseconds. And as I turn it up, not only can you see in the tooltip to the right of the thing, but you can also see in the lower portion of the screen, it shows you the level. And what's nice about this is normally in the past, the only way to find the value is to start turning it. But now you can just hover over it and it's going to show you the value. I really, really like that. Okay, down there on the bottom, you just hover over the control. And not only does it show you anything possible as far as control clicking, double clicking, that type of thing, but it's also going to show you the exact setting of that potentiometer, which I really, really love because I like to set my stuff real specifically. Now, exploring this repitch, we have two other algorithms. We have cycles, which is going to give you the same speed control with the same form, and then it's going to give you a format filter, okay? So very, very cool. Some really cool kind of spacey kind of cool sounds you can use. You know, use this in the film, use this in the wherever you need to use that. And then there's a third algorithm, which is textures. That's going to give you a speed, a grain control, and then a motion. So this is the most craziest of all three modes right here. Let's check this out.
Most dangerous criminal alive. Most dangerous criminal alive. Most dangerous criminal alive. The most dangerous criminal alive. Most dangerous criminal alive. Most dangerous criminal alive.
You know, put your 4.4 on there. Oh, wow. Look at that. I found a hook already. So very, very cool. Awesome stuff. Repitch, cycles, and textures. Those are the three algorithms there. Now, to the right of that, you have the RAM, okay? What you can do is you can load this sample into the RAM. And when you do that, you get these offset controls. We're going to talk about that in a second. But we can also click this. This is the snowflake little icon here. And what this is going to do is freeze, okay? It's going to freeze the sample, okay? And then now this potentiometer is going to represent like a playhead, if you will. And what's great about this is the throw of this potentiometer is going to be set by the in and out marker. And so what's great about this is if you want to get real precise control, you just close your in and out markers. Let's go. I'm going to go ahead and show you real quick here. See how that throw is very, very small? If you take your in and out markers into something very small, Same type of thing. And so that's what that does. It turns that into an actual playhead. You can put it anywhere you want on the sample. You can manipulate that section of the sample, but basically it freezes it into a single bit, if you will, a single playhead. All right, so the last thing we're going to cover is the offsets section. This section is really powerful. It's basically, think of it as a loop within a loop, or an offset of the loop or the selection that you already have set. Now, normally you have your starting point here, which you can adjust anywhere you want, but you have an offset of that amount, which is a smaller, you see that's a smaller flag that comes out of the bigger flag. So this is an offset of that value, okay? Now, as you close in on this, this offset is going to stay relative, okay? So if you have an offset, let's say you position your offset to, halfway down. Let's say 50% of the length. Hit Control and click on the mouse button. Set this to 50, right? As you bring in your starting marker, it's going to stay halfway in between. All right, so below there we have the loop, and we have the LEN, which is the length. This is really, really quite powerful because you can actually get a loop within a loop. Let's go ahead and go to forward. And let's extend this loop marker. And just like the starting point, you get an auxiliary loop marker that's coming out here, the smaller flag, if you will. And then you can control the length, which is going to pull in a loop marker from the end point. But here's what's really powerful about this is you set a specific length. This is 13.7% of the total length of the sample, let's say. And then once that's set, you can offset that entire region. Look at that. So what you've done is you've created kind of a giant looped playhead that you can drag along the sample. And I mean, that's something that's really, really unique,
The most dangerous criminal The most dangerous criminal
Oh, unbelievable. One more quick thing. You'll notice that we're playing in we're not playing in monophonic, we're playing in the poly, and the poly is now that stuff's been moved to the inspector panel. So now every single instrument you click on, all your voice modes are going to be in the inspector now. So they're not actually on the instrument, which in my opinion is great. I'm fine with that. You click on the instrument and then it shows your device. All your device parameters are now in the inspector. And this is the 2.4 upgrade. This is you can name your thing up here. You can deactivate it. You can set it to monophonic, single trigger, legato, glide, steel, same key. The fade out time, you can set your voices here, you can do your layering, and also you can set up all your modulation. So very cool, very, very cool. Scary on the wall. Scary on the wall. All right, I've done enough. Hey, Chill Computer Guy, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up. Comment below. Let me know what you think of this 2.4 sampler. And next week or so, we're going to do the part 2. We're going to talk about the multi-sample. We're going to talk about right now, you can right-click and go convert to multi-sample. Whoa, look at that. Oh, you think that's incredible? If you double-click here, check that out. Check that out. Ooh, the multi-sample mode. And this mode is absolutely unbelievable. You can drag everything. You can, oh man, it's really, really quite unique. You can magnify stuff. Look at that keyboard. You can magnify the keyboard. You can drag this over. You can drag that up. You can turn that off. You can drag your sample over. So it just takes up one key. All right, and then it has 2 different modes. It has vertical. It has select. Oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. Yeah, you heard it. You heard it. All right, so check it out. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss part 2 where we're going to talk about the multi-sampler. Comment, tell a friend about the channel. Remember, these tutorials are not for beginners or experts. They're for everybody. So please subscribe to the channel. Give me a comment below. And we'll see you guys again. Bye-bye now.